There is a catastrophe with the local air defense in Crimea. Drone sanctions by the armed forces of Ukraine are making it impossible to fully defend the temporarily occupied peninsula, destroying the enemy's air defense systems. Ukraine is rapidly approaching the stage of liberating its Crimea. All the details are in our report.
The demilitarization of occupied Crimea is going according to plan. Over the past few months, Ukraine's forces have delivered effective strikes against Russian positions on the peninsula hundreds of times. First, drone operators took out radar and air defense systems. Then, starting from the spring of 26, they switched to striking airfields with Iskanders and other missile systems.
It can now be officially stated that what we initially feared has finally happened. The peninsula's air defense system suffered heavy damage from systematic drone strikes using Starlinks. After that, Ukrainian drones began targeting other objectives, such as Bastion coastal missile systems and long-range MLRS.
But the occupiers' troubles are not limited to the borders of Crimea. Ukrainian drones are conquering new horizons. First, Azov took control of the roads in Mariupol. Then, the success of the legendary Corps was scaled up to the entire so-called land corridor to Crimea.
The Ukrainian defense forces are using the tactic of conducting precision strikes with Hornet drones. The operational range for successfully hitting targets is up to 200 kilometers along the frequently mentioned land corridor. This is the transport logistics route which, according to the Russians' plan, was supposed to connect the territory of the Russian Federation with the temporarily occupied territories of Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia and Kherson regions, and accordingly with the occupied Crimea. The main purpose of the so-called land corridor is precisely to provide logistics for the occupying army.
The Taganrog-Melitopol highway, once a safe logistical artery for the occupiers, has turned into a graveyard for fuel trucks. Vehicles are burning 150 kilometers from the front, forcing the occupiers in Crimea and southern Ukraine onto a fuel diet.
Dear residents of Sevastopol, in the evening and morning I held emergency meetings regarding the situation with fuel supply in the city. To avoid panic, as we did last time, we are introducing a measure that has already proven its effectiveness. Fuel sales at all TES network gas stations will be restricted to a maximum of 20 liters per vehicle or per canister, until such time as the situation stabilizes.
When it comes to strikes on Crimea and the rear logistics of the Russian army, Ukrainian soldiers are acting creatively. For example, the previously mentioned Hornet drones are launched from aerostats. The drone travels dozens of kilometers on a balloon, which increases the UAV's strike range by 1.5 to 2 times. In addition, during attacks on the occupiers' positions in Crimea, unmanned systems have begun to use drones that launch missiles.
The difference in the rapid pace of development of low-altitude aerial assets, and especially in their combat use, is glaringly obvious. But unfortunately, not to our Ministry of Defense.
The Ukrainian armed forces are systematically destroying Crimean air defenses, airfields, military facilities, and are taking control of logistics. The longer Putin drags things out, the weaker the Russians' positions become on the peninsula. And that means there's more to come.
And now we move to the Alexandrovsk and Huliaipol directions of the front. The Russian world continues to destroy, kill, and maim here as well. In the Alexandrovsk direction, the enemy attacked 4 times in the area of Ternove and towards Velikomikhaylovka. In the Huliaipol direction, the occupiers carried out 28 attacks in the areas of the settlements of Pryluki, Zheleznodorozhne, Yelena, Konstantinivka, and towards the settlements of Horke, Novoye Zaporizhia, Starukrainka, Verkhnaya Tersa, Tsvetkove, and Charivne. Ukrainian defenders have reached a level of 97% interception of Russian Shaheds. This was stated by Oleksandr Kamyshin, the advisor to the president of Ukraine on the defense industry. Even the pro-war Z community has now started talking about how Russia is recklessly squandering its financial resources with these expensive but largely unsuccessful and ineffective drone attacks. More on the latest news of the drone war in the following report.
Ukraine has learned to shoot down 97% of Shaheds. These calculations were presented by analysts from the Wall Street Journal. In the publication, Ukrainian air defense is directly called one of the most effective in the world. the past week, on average, out of more than 100 enemy UAVs daily, no more than a dozen reached their targets. A real test of endurance came on the night of May 24th when Russia simultaneously launched 90 missiles and 600 drones. Amid the enormous workload on the air defense, they managed to shoot down 549 drones.
This part is indeed very significant. But it's clear that we can't intercept every threat at some line where we could meet them with a wall with layered air defense. That's why there is still a shortage of vital resources. The number today is impressive, from 60 to 90 different air attack assets. But they can't all operate at the same time. Either it's a Western or Soviet fighter jet working, or it's ground-based systems. That's exactly why it's extremely difficult to shoot down such a number of targets, each with different speeds and flight trajectories, all flying to the same place at the same time.
Flight trajectory. At the same time, Ukraine's Ministry of Defense is predicting an imminent end for the Shahids altogether. The fact is that the few that do reach their targets in Ukraine, often civilian ones, still don't inflict the kind of damage that those across the border are hoping for.
Even an enemy indifferent to money understands that launching $70 million in Shaheeds at a 5% success rate is unsustainable.
But the Russians could only dream of such UAV destruction statistics. Ukrainian drones repeatedly break through Putin's air defenses. Moreover, as it turns out, they are even capable of penetrating all 3 layers of Moscow's air defense. So the crushing defeat in the thick fog which followed the attack on Kyiv hardly came as a surprise to anyone at that point.
Highly devastating and powerful strikes hit the specific maritime terminal berths and infrastructure servicing oil exports. This was reported in the official operational summary report from the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. They clarify there that the standards were completely and directly destroyed beyond repair.
These are specialized pipelines that actively transport oil onto the corresponding tanker. In other words, this is a significant strategic strike on a key logistical hub in Russia's oil export system.
Speaking of Ukraine's capabilities, our military has repeatedly stated that they are ready to share them with partners, naturally on mutually beneficial terms. After all, there truly is no air defense system of this level anywhere else in the world.
Today, Ukraine possesses unique experience in protecting the airspace of a large country and safeguarding critical infrastructure facilities. We are not talking about some individual systems that can be produced or purchased somewhere under contract. We are talking about a unique system that brings together many different aspects. Without creating such a system, it is simply naive today to claim that any country or its facilities are protected from modern threats that an adversary can deploy from the air. It is impossible. It is necessary to create a unique air defense system. Ukraine already has this experience.
The superiority of Ukrainian air defense is recognized even in the West, especially when it comes to countering drones. Multi-million-dollar contracts, including those with Middle Eastern countries, are additional evidence of this.
It is my firm belief that Ukraine can truly and fully become a highly significant and reliable exporter of international security. And this can include not only the drones themselves, but also to a certain extent specific pieces of strategic information, partial information, since we naturally need to keep the golden share for ourselves. In some cases, it could involve direct joint assembly and, of course, the training of highly skilled specialists as well. In other words, we can offer a comprehensive and complete package of specialized security exports to the specific locations that need it today for countries that are deeply interested in this.
But Ukraine does not intend to limit itself to interceptor drones, or for instance, a particular model of air defense operations. Hundreds of new startups are already on the way. Dozens of these projects will eventually become a reality. And all of this has one goal: to stay one step or even several steps ahead of the enemy.